Welcome to the Light Gate. Tonight is going to be a really cool night. We're moving topics slightly, and it's one of Preston's favorite topics and mine as well. We want to welcome you all, and we are coming to you live from the beautiful city of New Orleans, Louisiana at the United Public Radio Network at 107.7 FM and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 FM. We're coming to you via Roku, Tumblr, YouTube, Facebook, and many other platforms. We are excited about this, getting this show started, so I'm just going to hand it right back. Preston. Hi.
Thanks, Dolly. Yes, I'm your host, Preston Dennett. My lovely co-host is Dolly Safran. We've got a super exciting guest tonight. This is our episode number 20. So we're moving along right here on the Light Gate, and I'm so excited to see our chat here. I just want to say a quick hi to a few of you. Brian Morgan, thanks for joining us. Nancy Thames, awesome to see you. Dana Matthews, Maggie Smith, Louise. Hi, Louise. Awesome to see you. Scuba Maru, thanks for being here. Looks like we got quite a few people. W. Decker, thanks for the super chat. Super appreciated. It's always very cool. Lunar Dove. Lots of wonderful people here. Hi, Sandra. Awesome to see you here. Chris, Janice Connett, Terry D, Ashley Taylor. This is going to be cool, you guys. We have a super awesome show. As you may be aware, if you followed my research, I absolutely love out-of-body experiences, astral projection. It's something I've been doing for a very long time. And so, of course, has Dolly. In fact, we've actually shared some amazing astral projections together. So this is a subject that is absolutely dear to my heart. It completely changed my life. And our guest tonight is all about out-of-body experiences. In fact, she's one of the leading authors on this subject for sure. She is changing the world. And I will just read her bio because it is amazing. Her name is Marilynn Hughes. She's been experiencing astral projection for decades and is also an author of over 100 books, 111, I think it was 109, on this subject and related subjects, and teaches it. So let me just get into it. Marilynn Hughes has founded the Out-of-Body Travel Foundation in 2003, whose mission is to reduce spiritual hunger worldwide. She has experienced, researched, written, and taught about out-of-body travel and mysticism since 1987. It's exactly when I started having out-of-body experiences, Dolly. It's exactly when. And has spoken on dozens of radio and television programs to discuss her thousands of out-of-body experiences. She has studied the ancient sacred texts of all major and minor world religions, as well as Catholic, mystical, ascetical, biblical, doctrinal, dogmatic, systematic, liturgical, I'm not going to show you, I can pronounce that, Catechetical. I screwed that one up. I'm sorry, I tried. And moral theology. She studied individual schools of theology to include Franciscan, Carmelite, Ignatian, Dominican, and Benedictine. She's also trained as a remote viewer in transdimensional controlled and associative remote viewing, and is a hypnotherapist and has received certifications in a bunch of modalities. Too many to list, really, but she's authored 109 books, 40 magazines, 18 CDs on out-of-body travel and comparative religious mysticism, including her seminal classic, The Mysteries of the Redemption, a treatise on out-of-body travel and mysticism, which is, get this, in development to create a feature film TV series based on her experiences. I will be first in line to watch that. She was featured in the documentary film The Road to Armageddon, a spiritual documentary and documentary film productions, The Grand Phases of the Soul, The Stairway from Earth to Heaven, How to Have an Out-of-Body Experience, The Tao of Mysticism, and many others. She is the author of an English language encyclopedia on ancient sacred texts, The Voice of the Prophets, Wisdom of the Ages, in 12 volumes. Her out-of-body travel work has been featured in the Encyclopedia of the Unseen World. And, oh gosh, I mean, I'm gonna have to shorten this, Marilyn. We'll be here all day. I want to hear you talk personally. She's been the subject of several out-of-body travel research studies, including the out-of-body experience by Alex Sakaris of Skeptical. Marilynn Hughes and Dr. Rudy Child have co-authored a chapter entitled The Science for Moral Law. He, of course, has been featured on Coast to Coast AM with George Norton, Midnight in the Desert with Art Bell. I did a show with Art Bell about out-of-body experiences way back in the day. The Joan Rivers Show. I love Joan Rivers. God bless her. Marilynn Hughes was on the original board of the Dr. Edgar Mitchell Foundation for Research into Extraordinary Experiences and is a continuing contributor. She came across her vocation unexpectedly when she was 9 years old and had her first profound out-of-body experience when she saw the heavens open and a beautiful marble staircase surrounded by angels, which led to the throne of God. In this out-of-body experience, she was told many things, among them that he would return to her later in life and give her a mission to fulfill in relation to out-of-body travel. When she was 22 years old, she had her first out-of-body experience in adulthood and began a process of journaling, which would unleash thousands of out-of-body travel and mystical experiences over the next decades. And as a result of these words, the vision for the Out-of-Body Travel Foundation was born. And as Marilynn says, and I quote, "Our mission came from the words of Mother Teresa. The greatest disease in the West today is not TB or leprosy. It is being unwanted, unloved, and uncared for. We can cure physical diseases with medicine, but the only cure for loneliness, despair, and hopelessness is love. There are many in the world who are dying for a piece of bread, but there are many more dying for a little love. Poverty in the West is a different kind of poverty. It is not only a poverty of loneliness, but of also spirituality. There's a hunger for love as there is a hunger for God." Before I bring her on, I just want you guys to know that I have read a bunch of her books. Prelude to a Dream, book 1 of the Mysteries of the Redemption series, and the whole series. Out-of-body travel. I mean, I've got a bunch of her books. She has had a huge effect on my abilities to do this. So this is a true, honest to God honor for me. That's such a tall stack, it's going to fall over. So let me just bring her on before I have a catastrophe with so many books. All right.
I got it. Hold on. There we go. Hi.
Hi.
How are you doing, Marilynn?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
We're good. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Really
You're
appreciate
very
it.
welcome. It's an honor to be here. And it's nice to be back with Preston. We did an interview together about I'd say about 12 years ago.
That's
So
amazing.
this is a kind of a homecoming for us.
There you go. That's awesome. Awesome. Okay. Preston, did he?
So it looks like it's just us for the moment.
Yes, I'm frozen. So
Oh, are you?
can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes.
Where's Dot? Oh,
There she is.
There you go.
There you are, Dolly.
Thank you. Nothing like having it go weird on us right off the bat.
I'm back, at least for the moment. So sorry.
No worries. No worries.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan, Marilynn.
Well, I'm honored. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here, and it's nice to meet you, Dolly.
Thank you very much.
And,
I'm honored to meet you. Yes.
I think I read one of your first books, Odysseys of Light.
Yeah, those two, Odysseys of Light and Crystal River Flowing, were the first two. They were published in 91 and 92 by Hampton Roads Publishing. And then the other books were put out when I, founded the Out-of-Body Travel Foundation in 2003. And so you must have been from the very beginning.
I've been following you for a long time. Like I said, I started experiencing this and looking for books on this that I, had valid information. Of course, I love Robert Monroe.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
William Buellman and a couple of other guys. But then I found your books. I'm like, ooh, gosh. And when I found out that you were just putting them out one after another, man, oh man, I was in heaven, literally. In heaven. I was able to get really high up to the higher realms.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I mean, that was kind of like the goal and one of the hopes that I had in putting them out and creating that continuity. You know, one of the nice things that happened around the time of 2003 was on-demand publishing that made it possible for us to create some of that continuity, you know, get things out quicker and be able to show the continuation of the journey more quickly to people. And I'm glad to hear that it did that for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, me too. I mean, the honors is mine. So I would love to just start with how it all, I mean, I know we mentioned it slightly in your bio, but I'd love to hear about this came about for you.
Well, for me, you know, it started when I was a child. You know, I was 9 years old. I was always a, you know, very spiritual child, very interested in God and Jesus as a child, very obsessed with, you know, these religious books that I could find around the house, trying to figure out things. But when I was 9 years old, I had this mind-blowing spiritual experience, this vision that just where the heavens opened, this marble staircase descended from heaven. The angels of God were on either side of this marble staircase. And at the top of the staircase were what I perceived as Father God and the Lord Jesus Christ standing there, and, you know, sitting, standing at different points in the experience. And the clouds were just billowing, you know, thunder is billowing. And there were different points during this experience, but, you know, I'm motioned to come forward. You know, I'm just 9 years old. So this is, you know, quite a moment. And, you know, so I'm just blown away by the fact that this is, you know, this is a pivotal moment of realization. God is real. It's profoundly present before me, in, you know, right before me. There's this unbelievable beauty all around me. You know, these angels are majestic. This is, you know, the majestic beauty of it is impossible to really describe, but they're there, you know. And then, so I'm being pulled forward, and I have this vision within a vision where I'm being shown what's going to happen in my life, and that there's going to be some difficulty in my childhood and in my lifetime where there's going to be trials and tribulations, but that I'm going to be called to do some things later in my life. And it's not clear to me exactly how or in what manner, but that the cross is like thrown on the ground, and I am shown that the cross is lit on fire, and somehow I am going to show the reality of God, and that is going to be my purpose in life. And somehow God is going to bring this back to me later in life, and I will understand how this is going to be so. And then I'm brought back into this present day vision. And so now I'm back on the marble staircase, and I'm called forth again. And then I'm, you know, shown that there will be tribulation. I'm kind of thrown on my knees, prepared for this majestic vision, experiencing this profound vibration, all these things kind of set back, where I'm going back into my body. But at the same time, this particular experience was different in that there was a consciousness to it that was a little more different than a lot of the out-of-body experiences I would have later in my life. And wow. And then, you know, I come back, and I'm like just completely changed forever. I remember, that next morning, thinking, I want to go tell my mom. My mom's like,
Yeah.
my mother is this night, my mother's a German lady, and she's like, stop lying. You stop telling those lies. And so, I knew immediately because, my family of origin, really had trouble dealing with how different I was. And that was going to be some of the difficulties I would face, would be the fact that, and like a lot of us face, right, that we aren't going to be surrounded by a lot of people who just understand or support the experiences that we have. And so I immediately understood my mother was not going to understand what was happening to me. I never spoke about it with her again when I was growing up. And, the experiences would sort of continue, but then the full out-of-body experiences returned later when I was 22. And so it was like shortly, I was 3 months after the birth of my first child, I had my first out-of-body experience in my adult years. And then I start having the progression that you see that is laid out starting in the Mysteries of the Redemption, which starts this evolution that you're talking about that is written in sequence, which shows how this purification journey begins in the soul and how the soul begins with these basic experiences that occur. You start by just going out of your body, experiencing what it's like to learn how to, use your spiritual body, learn how to use your eyes, ears, your senses, and things like that. You start getting used to the astral realms, and then you start moving to other spheres of existence. But eventually you just start moving into different spheres of development. You go into higher spheres of development. Right. You start moving into the time tunnel. You start experiencing past lives. Eventually you move into initiations into the mysteries, rites of passage. You go into higher spheres. You're meeting with spiritual guides. You're meeting with guardian angels of all kinds. You're interacting with the Akashic records, learning about why you came this time so that you start becoming more aware of what you need to focus on. You learn more about your special gifts, whether you're an artist, a writer, or a scientist, or you have administrative gifts or other types of gifts of your vocation. You learn a lot about your relationships and what you need to be dealing with, working on, purifying, character flaws, things like this. You begin that purification journey, and that's what you start seeing unfold in your soul through these experiences. So it's a continuing upward evolution.
Yep. I have a question for you. What was it like the very first time that you did OBE? Did you realize what was happening? I mean, what was that day like?
The first time as an adult, I actually, the first time I thought like, could I be dying? Because you're going out of your body. So you're like, well, gee, could I have just died in my sleep or something? And so the first time you're a little bit afraid. I was a little bit afraid because I wasn't trying to do it or anything. It just happened. And so I was a little bit afraid. I'm bouncing, it started out, I'm going into this vibrational state. I hear these jet engine sounds. And then I'm like raising my arm up and the light arm comes up instead of my physical arm. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, something different is going on. And then I roll over and I fall out of my body, bounce up to the ceiling and realize I'm out of my body. And I'm like, oh, and I'm a little bit afraid that, oh, am I dying or something, And so the first time I was a little bit more afraid, but then after it happened, I remember praying and asking that if this is something I should experience, that I asked for help, that the next time it would be more peaceful. And the next time I had 3 angels on each side that took me out, and it was totally peaceful. And so, by asking for the assistance, it was completely different. And I realized that, okay, this is something I'm supposed to experience, and it's totally fine. But the first time, I was not quite sure what was going on.
It's a big shock. It really is. I was really, really, really small. And I was standing there staring at myself thinking, what? It's like, oh, and the next thing I know, I was flung out of the room, and I was above the house. It was an apartment building over the ocean, on Biscayne Bay. I was looking at the ocean, and I was looking around, and I thought, this is not what I expect to be happening to me right now. And at that age, I knew I dreamt, okay, but it was no dream. It was absolutely real.
Absolutely,
because you can smell, you can feel, you touch, you can taste. Your eyes are working, and when you look at your ethereal body, it's real to you. I mean, it's substantial when you see yourself like that.
It absolutely is. And then, because you do fly around the neighborhood, and then you can go into other areas. And one of the things that I pointed out is that a lot of it's sometimes more real than what we experience here.
Thank you. That's what I say. Thank you.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Describe to people. It's like the red is redder.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, the colors. Not only are the colors more real, but they're more vibrant, and there are other colors that we don't have here.
Exactly.
And then the colors are in a different spectrum.
Yes.
So when you started, I mean, for me, that first time I did it, I thought I was dead, actually. Well, that was the third time. First time I thought I'd stuck my finger in the light socket and electrocuted. But my whole first year, Marilynn, it was maybe 3 to 5 second long OBEs. Because I would just get so excited.
Right
back in.
Yes.
So did you go through a process like that?
Oh, yeah. And I talk about that. I don't know if you remember in Come to Wisdom's Door about how it's very common when you get when you start out, you get very excited, and that excitement will immediately throw you back into the body.
Yep.
And so part of the process that we go through is to discipline ourselves so that we can moderate that excitement, so we can actually extend the experience.
Exactly. Right. It takes some time. You're exactly right. It took me a little while too. I would my favorite thing to do was when I walked out, I would run outside, or just go outside. It felt like running to me, but I was still thinking I need to exit the house normally. I was going through everything, but I was following the path. And I would stand in the middle of we had a big long road, and I would look up, and I could feel this breeze that wanted to uplift me. And I put my arms out, and I would start to fly. Okay. I would just go with the breeze. And it was like tingles all over me when it was happening. And I realized that I was lit up, somehow I was shiny, And I got so excited the first time it happened. I slammed into me so hard, my bed shook. And it freaked me out. I was like, oh no, how do I stay out? And it took me a little while to stay on track with what I was thinking. It's because your consciousness is having to guide itself back out of the body. And, our physical mind is not always in touch with our consciousness, and the two have to cooperate. The body can't become afraid or shook or emotional while it's experiencing simultaneously with your consciousness. And it took me a while to figure that out,
Right. And, I often call that, like you're talking about the wind, I call it the mystical winds.
Yeah.
That you feel the mystical winds picking up, and that something is afoot.
Yep.
And
go ahead.
as you're progressing along the way too, in the beginning you feel it too, but as you're progressing along the way too, you'll see the mystical winds kicking up, and something, or even like a messenger might be coming, because you feel the mystical winds, or you see them kicking up. And oftentimes that's an indication that a messenger or a guardian or a spiritual guide or something is coming, that's going to come and inform you, teach you, guide you in some way. And you're like, You're immediately like, okay, who's coming?
I'm ready.
You're alert because you know they're going to say or do something that's important.
Yep.
You know,
Do
that you need to pay
physically
attention.
now in your body? Do you still feel that in the body now? Because the longer I do this, the more that I'm pairing up with my physical self. I can feel that coming. I know the wind, physically know the wind in my head. I don't know how I know it. I just do.
Exactly.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, and I'm getting goosebumps as we talk about that. Yes.
Okay. I smell something. For me, it's always smell. I smell I smell people, places, and things. And then sometimes it's such a smell that it's heavenly. Okay. And
exactly.
and it's amazing.
One of the books I wrote was called Fragrance Mysticism.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about that particular issue because you know how certain realms emit a certain fragrance.
Yeah.
And how these fragrances actually are part and parcel of how we bring ourselves to these higher spheres.
That's right. That's
yeah. Exactly. And one of the things that I would talk to people about in some of my live streams was part of the reason some of these things that people do with incense or essential oils.
They're trying to make that happen. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like what you're doing is you're creating the fragrance so that you can refine your meditation space so you can bypass to go to a particular sphere. And it's an aid. It's an aid to help you to get to a certain higher essence, a certain higher realm.
Okay, that's related to the odor of sanctity that they talk about with the saints.
Yes. And that's very well said. And it's so interesting because I will experience that even just around my space. I will just randomly experience a scent.
Yep.
And I will pay attention because when I experience this scent and there is no physical reason for that scent, I take that to be an indication that something is going on either in my area or in my thinking that I need to pay attention to. A message is coming in that I need to hear.
That's right. I also associate people that I love who have passed with scents, and I know them by their scent. And when they come to visit me, I smell them first, and I know they're there.
That's absolutely true. And I get emails from people. I got one just recently, where the grandmother has her particular bath soap. Right. And the grandson is smelling his grandmother's bath soap, and he's just wanting validation that could she be communicating with me in this way? And of course, yes, she absolutely can. Scent and fragrance is a big part of the mystical realms. Right. Fragrance is a thing.
Because there were some of the saints who would have that, they'd be walking around smelling like roses, and you're not allowed to wear perfume under certain religions, right?
Yes.
Under certain disciplines, but it would be a sign. There was a bunch of mediums actually who would do that too.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And what you would also experience is that the souls of the damned are, spirits from the infernal area, the infernal spirits would smell like putrid stench, and so, we can smell like that which we actually are in the mystical spheres, just as we can appear, so one of the things, and ironically, Emanuel Swedenborg, who is one of the great mystics, would talk about this, how in this realm, we have the ability to mask what we are in the physical. Once we enter into the spiritual realm, we become that which we truly are. And so we no longer have these masks. What we truly are becomes manifest. So we have the odor of sanctity. We have the odor of non-sanctity. We appear in the manner of our vice or the manner of our virtue.
Exactly.
You see?
Exactly. I've had comments in my lifetime about that. People have seen me out of the body, relatives say, you came to visit me and I couldn't hear you, but I saw you. And they describe what I look like, and it would shock me because you have to think about what they're saying when they say it to you, and I would go on the other side then and try to see myself, which is almost impossible to do. A couple times I've caught a glimpse and I'm like, oh, okay, that's what I look like. Oh, wow. I also know that I am incapable. I don't, you lose all, what's the word I'm looking for? You lose all, when you say mask, a mask is a way for you not to have to say what's really true about you or what you're thinking or how you're feeling, whatever. And I've lost all those masks. They're gone. And a lot of people don't know how to take it sometimes when I'm talking because I'm very dead up honest. And I've noticed that people who are very, very evolved in this ability and are seeking knowledge in that also have that going on with them. It's part of the package. You
Yes.
go higher and higher and you lose all pretense, all of it. It's gone. And it's amazing.
Yes, that's true.
I have so many questions, Marilynn, but one I'm very interested in, because when I go out of body, all my hair comes back.
Oh, how nice. Yes.
So do you experience a younger self when you go
Oh,
out
yeah.
of body?
We can experience a younger self. Sometimes I'm an older self. I'm definitely skinnier like that, but I definitely, except when I'm in an older self, I'm actually, more my size that I am now because I'm older now. But I'll have an older self and my hair is all silver, you know what I mean? So I experience both. I'll be younger, I'll be older. I experience myself in different incarnations. So I've experienced myself like in Native American lives, and I'll have the long black hair, from those lifetimes. So we definitely can experience different aspects of ourselves,
Those memories are amazing, and you manifest the second it hits you, you manifest into it. That's true.
Yes.
When you do out of body stuff, and this is, I've certainly noticed in the books, sooner or later at some point, the past lives are going to come roaring back at you.
Yes.
All that stuff that you haven't worked out.
Oh, yes. Unfortunately, yes, we all have to, but the neat thing about it is, and this is one thing I try to point out to everybody, is the neat thing about it is just the universality of the fact that, how similar we all are.
Right.
And that the cool thing about it is that when we really get down to it, we really don't need to feel so badly about it.
Exactly.
Because we really are all kind of doing the same thing.
Right.
We put up so many obstacles to facing all our vices and all these things, and we feel so bad about it. We're so worried about it. In the end, we're all doing the same thing. We're all so similar. We all have the same vices, variations on a theme, but really, and one of the things I tell people is, having had the honor of receiving emails from people all these years, I realize even more how much we are the same.
Right.
And it's been really insightful to me how we are all so afraid of facing that inner darkness within us. But in reality, how interesting it is, how much it is the same. And that I think that we would all benefit. I think everyone would benefit if they had that, if they could see the emails that I've received and realize that, my goodness, we are all doing the same thing. And we're all so afraid of just basically realizing that, we all fight lust, we all fight greed, we all fight avarice, we all fight anger. And boy, when we realize that we are all so similar, it's not so scary to face those demons within ourselves, because it's like we can look at each other and we can kind of like laugh and say, yeah, you do that too. Yeah, me too.
When I would go out of body, some of those things would come at me real hard.
Yeah,
I don't really have an anger problem, but I'd come out and I'd be so angry.
Yeah.
Or lustful. Or I'd create feasts of food and just stuff myself.
Yeah.
I got past it at some point. I went through a year of that.
Uh-huh. Oh my goodness. I went through I'd say probably a good, 5-6 years of just the demonic battles of going against all my vices. And, we go through the gluttonies, the lusts, the greed. And yeah, it's ugly to face our vices. But, we're all here because we have the same ones.
Yeah, exactly. People have asked me from time to time in my life, they say, they're confused. They say, well, when we die, we're out of chances. We don't have any more chances. I'm like, no, that's not how it is. You get on the other side and you're going to be met with a whole bunch of things, like a debrief, when you first get back, and you're going to have somebody with you. They're going to walk you through all kinds of things. They're going to be answering questions. They're going to help you with how you're feeling about it. I mean, there's a whole thing going on. You're not left alone, because you're not alone at all. And, it's really hard to tell people that this isn't the only time you live. It goes on and on and on until you're ready to leave this particular realm that we're in now and never come back here and move on to the next phase of your existence. And it's hard for them to accept that, because they've been taught not to think that way. And I wish that people, I like your books for that reason, because you're very frank about it. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what needs to be said. I can almost imagine your one gift is absolute writing. Okay. That's probably, you impress them. You're the writers. Okay. And oh my God, because it's so important. People they're so locked in here in their minds and not looking out in what's really going on. And thank you for putting this all down on paper. It's pretty cool.
Well, thank you for saying that, because sometimes, it's good to hear. Because sometimes, we all wonder, am I doing this? Is it a waste of time, or is it really helping anybody? But, it's, when Preston, you talk about the gluttony and seeing it and how it's hard to look at. And I really want to talk about that, because it is so hard when we are seeing our vices and we look at it and we're so overwhelmed by it. And one thing I want to talk about that too is because one of the things that I really focus on in my work is how one of the things that was really hit to me anyway, and I really touch on and go into in my writing and my out-of-body experiences is we are all here because we've been doing this like in a circle. We keep reincarnating. We keep kind of doing the same thing over and over again. And what we want to kind of do is take notice of, oh, well, yeah, these vices are ugly. We don't want to beat ourselves up to a point where we're so afraid to deal with them that we don't make progress, because we have all this shame and stuff and guilt that doesn't progress. We want to kind of be able to look at them almost in the way that the Buddhists do, where we say, okay, well, this is a hindrance. This is hindering me from going closer to God. Right. So how do I start taking this apart so that I can move closer to that all holy God? Because these vices keep me from him, because we are incarnate here because of these things that hold us back. And what we want to try to do is realize that we do have that choice of saying, we can make a choice. We can decide, okay, well, I can decide that this incarnation can be that incarnation where I decide I'm going to take that purification journey and see if maybe this might be that last lifetime where I'm going to climb that stairway from earth to heaven and start removing these fetters that are attached to my soul. And part of the way we do that is by realizing that we don't have to cower beneath those vices.
Right.
We don't have to be afraid of confronting them. They're ugly. They're scary when we get hit with them. And the demons, the demonic experiences, the spiritual warfare that comes at us in the out-of-body travel is intense.
Yeah.
It's intense.
Huge lesson when I was 5 years old. I had an actual demon chasing me around all the time. And that every night it came for me. And I'm kind of spunky anyway. And I would go after it and chase it back. And my grandmother could hear me in the other room. She could hear, she was psychic as well. And she finally said, "What's going on?" And I said, "There's a bad guy. He's a demon. He's chasing me. He won't leave me alone. And he tells me things that I know are not true." And she said, "Okay, well, tell him no. Did it occur to you could say no?" And I was like, "Oh." And she said, "Here's what you do. She says, get thee behind me and never come at me again. Be gone. I banish you forever. You're gone. I let you go. Bye." And I did that, and it worked. And it worked right in that second, right in that minute, and it's never come back ever again, because it knows I'll turn on it in a second and say, "You're not allowed to be here. Shuffle off." And I'm not afraid of it. And I think that's part of why we don't give up vice, because we're afraid to, or we're afraid of the consequences that we have to face. And that's not okay for us to be thinking that way, because we're the ones with a choice. It's our autonomy. We're the ones healing ourselves through this, And I find that really interesting that we can do that. That's a thing.
Well, this is all about healing, the whole out-of-body experience, which is actually another one of my questions, Marilynn, because I wrote an article about people who have been healed as a result of an out-of-body experience. Because I know that happened to Robert Monroe. Bruce Moen wrote a series of books. He healed himself of sarcoidosis. Albert Taylor cured himself or improved his condition of multiple sclerosis. I once went to a healing temple. It was so beautiful I couldn't sustain it. I mean, it was just.
Oh my gosh, I know, those places are amazing.
So I was, wondering if you could talk about the whole healing aspect of astral travel and projection and the out-of-body experience.
I would love to. One thing, just to kind of put a little cap on what we were just talking about. We just put out a film called Spiritual Warfare, Angels and Demons, the Preparation. Mm-hmm. And we're about to film the second one called The Combat. And those will give you a lot of guidance on everything we were just talking about. So please feel free to
stick with that a little bit, because I've been exploring, and it's funny. I talked to Dolly about this. I'm reading about people exploring the lower realms.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, if I read it, and I've always done this with the yearbooks, I'm like, well, she did it. I'm curious. I want to do it too. And
what happens with some people, and it doesn't happen with everybody, but definitely what happened with me, and I hear from a lot of people where, we get brought into out-of-body travel, and many of us are brought in, we see the beautiful things first, and then we're slowly brought in where we're then kind of initiated into the knowledge of the lower realms. And so the way it kind of works is that if you understand it from the standpoint of, okay, when we are being educated and taught, we're being taught by spiritual guides and guardian angels who are from realms above us, right? And so as we continue to be taught and educated and assisted from realms above us, we are then told, well, creation continues to create, and we have to give back to creation all that creation gives to us. And therefore, then we are called in to also serve those who are struggling in realms below us.
Right.
And so then I began training to assist souls who are in purgatorial realms, which are realms where there is this purification between dark and light. Yes. And hellish realms, which is, the evils and things like that. And so what happens is then, as souls and angels and higher beings from realms way beyond where I am at evolutionarily are assisting me, I now, in order to give back to creation, must also serve those souls who are also seeking to achieve higher thrusts, 100%. Who are in other levels, either in, different levels below where I might be at.
Oh my gosh.
And that's how we see the sacred hoop completes itself, where we are all serving one another at all times.
Another thing you see with people, because I read all the books I can find on this. At some point, repeated out-of-body experience, you're going to be taken to help bring people up to the other side.
Exactly.
And I read about that, and I finally rescued this little girl who was earthbound. And oh my gosh, it just touched me so profoundly. And I realized I had actually been doing it and not really realizing it.
Yes.
But yeah, not too long ago, there was a guy who was stuck on this purgatory realm. He had just died of, I'm assuming, the COVID thing that went through, because it was crowded. And it was a lower realm. I'm like, listen, I can take you to a higher realm. Grab my hand. And he's like, but you're a guy, I'm like, listen, just grab my hand and we can go straight up. And I'll take you to the higher realm. Trust me. So yeah, I think absolutely I agree with what you're saying. This is something that all out-of-body travelers at some point will do.
It's part of the process, and it's part of how we give back for what
they know it too, because
gives us.
the house at night, they're here. Okay.
Yes.
Whole new batches all the time. And it's like, oh no, here we go again. Okay, I'm busy. And
that's also, that's how we also, when you're talking here about ghosts and lost souls.
Right.
And so that's where, because I have these books on the spiritual warfare, the souls that are moving in the purgatorial and the hell realms. But then there's also the ghosts, the lost souls, the wandering spirits. And so those are also souls that we also go in to assist.
Right.
And so these are also ways that we can be called in to be of assistance.
Right.
And so these are all ways that we do this. And so you can see how we, when you're talking about seeing your own gluttony, seeing these own things, and I saw my own lusts, my own greeds, I saw my own gluttonies too. So I understand, we go through these things where we go through the battle with the demonic, and we get battled and battled and battled. And then after we go through that battle, then we start taking on that battle a little bit for others, a little bit.
Yeah, you have to, yeah.
You see,
yes.
For ghosts, for wandering spirits, which are souls that are in various other states that are not necessarily lost, but wandering. And then there are, ghosts. That's a different, but that's, but I have books on that so people can read it.
Yeah.
And then we have the purgatories, the hells, and it can get complicated, but that's what happens, is that we then start assisting. And so does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
So when you go out of body, do you guide each one with an intention? Like, this is what I'm going to do, or are you taken to various places?
Well, that's something that I think is real important for people to understand, is that, at least in my experiences and what I hear from everybody, is that when we really embrace this experience, it's like the Holy Spirit comes within us and the Holy Spirit moves through us. We don't really know what to do. The Holy Spirit moves through us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it's not like we're saying, oh, I think this soul needs this or that or this. It's like, whoosh, it just happens through us. You know what I mean?
I have a question for you, because now you got me interested in something. Direction here. How you're psychic, correct?
Well, I wouldn't call myself psychic. I have psychic abilities to a certain degree, but I wouldn't call myself psychic.
Okay.
So I'm sensitive, I guess, is what I'd say.
Okay. I've noticed there's a corollary, these abilities run side by side concurrently with some people.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And those who are very well developed psychically, even in body, take that ability with them to the other side. Right. And you hear what people are thinking there as well as here, because you're psychic on the other side. You don't even have to try, you just are. But the volume on it goes way up.
That's true. Yes.
And, sometimes I don't even have to be told anything. I hear it, Yes. It's coming in on me, and I already embodied it. It's like, okay.
It just comes through you. It's not, you don't, it's just there.
It's pure knowing. It's like the eternal mind himself
Exactly.
is popping you with where to go next. Okay.
Exactly. Well
And-
said.
And so I have that happening to me frequently, but I see it happening here too, to people who are unaware of what they're doing. And I watch them closely. I don't know if you've seen many people like that in this lifetime, where they will just out of nowhere act without hesitation before anything happens, but they're already right there waiting for it to happen. They're like, they've already been instructed what to do, and they immediately obey. And it is amazing to me to watch that happen. And I wonder about that sometimes. In these times, more and more people are becoming more aware of everything and understanding everything. You're helping that.
I feel like those moments are when the Spirit just takes a hold of people.
Yeah.
And it just moves through them.
Right.
Sometimes they're aware of it, sometimes they're not. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that happens with us, all of us as well. Yeah.
And it's amazing to me. Okay.
Yeah, the out-of-body, when I started having out-of-body experiences, I started having all of that, came roaring up to clairvoyance, telepathy, precognition. Oh my gosh, precognition.
Yeah, all those things start happening. And so I guess they do. And they all kind of are part and parcel of it. And I think my hesitation in just calling it psychic is because I feel like there's a label to that is not exactly how it operates. You know?
No, I agree about that, because it's actually
Natural human ability.
it's consciousness. We come here, we indwell the bodies that we're in, and our physical mind is not our true mind. Our consciousness is who we really are. We're all one.
Definitely, like the way it works for me is that the way I explain it to people too is that if God allows it to come to me, it will come to me, but it doesn't automatically come to me just because someone asks it to. So it's like, well, if it does, I will share it with you. But if it doesn't, it doesn't. I don't have, I can't just say, okay, I'm going to do that for you. It's completely, just as in the out-of-body travel state, it's going to be controlled by the Holy Spirit. In an experience like that, like for instance, like if a deceased relative is going to become present, that's not something I'm going to control. That's going to be something that's going to be a God experience. You know what I mean? It's not going to be something that I control, but it does happen, I guess is the way I would put it.
Yeah, and also I think the psychic abilities aren't something you want to pursue so much.
Right.
Like I think it's Tibetan Buddhism, they call them obstacles. They can actually retard your spiritual progress, when really it's all about becoming more aware and spiritually enlightened and closer, going to the higher realms.
Yes.
Becoming a fully realized human being.
Very much so.
Unfortunately, have never gotten that message. My experience is a little bit more. My abilities are superseding my physicality, and I am already half there, physically half there, and there comes a state of being when you realize that energy is mutable. And you know this from the saints. The saints have talked about this, okay? Your energy is mutable, and you can reform it and do with it as you will. And I was taught by entities on the other side that we are consciousness, pure consciousness, and we're autonomous. In other words, there is a Godhead, and God does speak to us and encourage us and show us and bring us through if we need help. But we're encouraged to seek for ourselves and to learn for ourselves. That's what I've been taught. And I don't assign anybody any yay or nay over me. I accept full responsibility for my will and what I do. And that responsibility also means making amends, healing myself, changing as I need to. Because eventually what I've been taught is I eventually want to make it to God to have the conversation with them. And if I cast off all the things that are plaguing me, and I go through it and I learn what I'm supposed to learn and I do as I should, still exercising my will upon it, my free will, I'll make that meeting happen. And that's what I've been taught in this lifetime. So it's a little bit different from what you teach, but it doesn't mean it negates you at all. It just means that's the road I'm on right now.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So can we talk about healing now?
Sure. Yeah.
Terrell Wilson cured himself of a cold. I know you, I think if I remember correctly, you smashed your finger and healed it. Do I remember that right?
Your index finger or your thumb?
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
Yeah. I think that was in one of your books. I might be misquoting. I know you've had healing.
I'm not remembering that right offhand, but I'll tell you about the experience that comes to mind when you bring that up, which is a near-death experience that I had in 2003. So how about that?
Sounds amazing.
Okay. So, in 2001, I was diagnosed with cardiomyopathy, heart failure.
Wow.
And I was, basically, given like about 6 months, and they thought about doing a heart transplant and all that and everything. And so in about 2003, my heart was doing really crappy. And so they decided they were going to do, what is that called? A heart catheterization.
Right.
And they were going to have a chopper standing by to fly me out to the University Hospital in Denver, where I'd already been typed out for transplant. And that was the plan. And because it wasn't doing well and all that and everything. And so the night before the procedure, something went wrong in the middle of the night. And I'm assuming it was some kind of, arrhythmia or something, but I really don't know, And so I was just shot up into, the tunnel with the light at the end. And my cute little dog that I had when I was a child was there. Sitting in the little tunnel. And, I went to the went to the end of the tunnel, and I knew that at the end of the tunnel, I could see the ethereal light there, and I wanted so bad to touch it, but I knew that if you go further, you can't come back. So I was like, okay, what do I do, and everything. So I'm just kind of there, and, the Lord Jesus is standing there, and he says, he's wearing the robes of the Sacred Heart. So he's got the white and the red. He's really majestic looking. And he says he's going to take me on a journey, and he's going to give me a little bit of a dispensation and take me on a journey into beyond the worlds of the light, and let me see some of these worlds beyond the light that normally you can't go to and not come back from. And so he takes me into all these beautiful worlds, and they're just amazing. And I won't even try to describe them because they're just amazing. And it was just a beautiful, beautiful journey. I saw all these spheres of light. It was just awesome and wonderful. And so I come back, and he brings me back to right before the tunnel of light. And right before the tunnel of light, there's this measure. And this measure is this measure of this thing that tells you how you're doing on the measure of selfishness to selflessness.
Oh, wow.
And he's telling me that, the goal of human existence is to go from selfishness to selflessness.
Yeah.
And he shows me that on the measure, I'm up there near the top, and I've done well. And he's like, okay, so you can go if you want. You've accomplished what you need to do. So you can go if you want, or you can head back. So it's kind of up to you. And then he shows me someone else in my life who's kind of down near the bottom and it's like, okay. And then I hear the world. I'm looking at the world in the distance, and I hear like the shouts and the screaming of the world. And he's like, you can go back. And the people are all going to be the same. They're all going to be selfish, and they're all going to scream and wail and do all the usual selfish things they do. So it's not going to make that much difference if you go back. but you can go back if you want. So he's letting me know that, you know, I can do either. And so then we kind of move over and I'm standing directly in front of him and I'm like, okay. And, you know, I mean, I don't want to go back. I've just flown through all these amazing worlds, you know?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, come on, you know, but I've got these 3 little kids at home, you know, and, and I'm like, okay, well, my kids are really young. My youngest was 2. And I was like, well, as long as that's still my choice, I've got to go back because my kids are really young. Right. And he's like, okay, so you can do that. And he's like, so if you want to go back, you've got to go back. And I want you to go back. I want you to pray for a heart transplant. And I said to him, okay, well, I can't do that. And he kind of just looks at me and he's like, and I'm like, but I will pray that the perfectly healthy person who would have to die for no reason to provide me with a heart will survive, and not die will survive. And I'll take my chances with the heart I've got. And he looks at me and he says, I grant that. And he takes my hand and we go shooting back. And we're heading back and we go like we're midway from heaven to earth. And we enter into this, like, it's like a, you know, like a cafe bookstore, you know, those kinds of places that we used to have more of back then. And we're sitting like at a little table in a cafe bookstore. And it's kind of funny, you know, sitting with the Sacred Heart of Jesus, you know, hanging out in a cafe bookstore. And he has me look up at this bookshelf, and there's this bookshelf with all these books. And he's like, look up there. And all of a sudden I see all these books and they all have my name on them. And I see, you know, the Mystic Knowledge series, you know, and he's like, there's all these books. And he's like, I'm going to make good use of you in the time you have left. And I'm looking up at those and I'm like, I'm looking at him like, what? I'm kind of like overwhelmed because I'm like,
job. Oh yeah. Okay.
because, you know, there's like a lot of books because, you know, literally at that point in time, I've written 3 books, you know,
Wow.
And there's about 100 books there. And he says, yeah. And so I'm like, you know, I'm like, it's going on in my head. I'm like, is he saying I'm going to write all that? I don't understand. How's that possible? You know, that's what's going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, you know, and so then all of a sudden, whoosh, and all of a sudden I'm back in my body. It's time to get up. We have to go to the procedure at the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just kind of like blown away because I'm like, that was like, man, that was awesome. You know, it's like, you know, so I get to the hospital, go through the procedure, Chopper's standing by, and I wake up and I'm still in the hospital in the place, and I'm not in Denver. Wake up and I'm like, you know, and I asked the cardiologist, I'm like, what's going on? You know, I'm supposed to be in Denver. And he's like, you know, Marilynn, we don't really understand what's going on, but, you know, for some reason, your heart just significantly improved from last week to this week. And we just sent the chopper back because we really don't need to send you up there now. And we don't really understand why.
So the virus that caused the cardiomyopathy disappeared, didn't it?
Well,
there's a virus that causes, I'm a registered nurse. There's a virus that causes cardiomyopathy. And it's the pericardium that surrounds your heart. And it gets thicker and thicker and it fills with fluid and it actually puts your heart into congestive heart failure. It squeezes it to death. So what happened is he probably took that virus from you and healed you instantly.
Well, mine was peripartum cardiomyopathy.
What?
And mine was peripartum cardiomyopathy.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It's the pericardium. And it's a virus. It causes an infection in the lining of your pericardium, and it swells and swells and swells, and it literally squeezes your heart to death. It makes it impossible for your heart to beat. And the way you have to give you a transplant is they have to take the entire thing out. Your heart is now damaged by it to the point of no return. So you got no virus anymore. your pericardium is unswollen itself, your heart's relieved, and for some reason your heart muscle was not damaged. That's a miracle.
Right. And in my case, it was related to childbirth, which is peripartum. But but yeah, same thing, exactly what you explained. But yeah. So basically, yeah. I mean, I knew that he had done something, and
that's amazing.
Okay, well, you know what? We have to take a quick station identification break. So if you could hold on just a second, I want to let everyone know that you're watching The Light Gate. I'm your host, Preston Dennett. My lovely co-host is Dolly Safran, right over there. And we're talking with Marilynn Hughes, amazing author and teacher about astral projection. We are streaming live on United Public Radio Network 107.7 from the beautiful city of New Orleans. Also the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3. We're on Roku and several other platforms, Facebook and YouTube. And yeah, this is so awesome, Marilynn. I'm learning so much. It's a real honest to God treat to hear about how healing this experience is. And having experienced a lot of the stuff myself, I'm anyone I talk to, I'm like, you have to try this. So I want to, we're going so quickly here. We're already an hour in. I want to make sure that we give people a chance to learn how to do it. So if you could give some pointers to people on what you can do.
One thing to let people know, the website, outofbodytravel.org. And one thing, since Dolly is a nurse, I thought I'd just throw out just a couple more things that would help, because Dolly understands this. So later, my heart was extremely enlarged. It was thinned out. I had a high ejection fraction. And all of those things went back to normal, which is physically impossible.
That's unheard of. That's right. It's unheard of. I've never, in my entire time as a nurse, I've never, ever heard of a situation like that. That's amazing to me. That's just.
Yeah. And they actually later on had, they actually had some doctors, ironically Catholic doctors, take a look at it because they were looking at it for a miracle. Yeah. And the doctors said that's not possible, but, but yeah, they didn't know what to think. Yeah, except that this is God intervention. But
I understand it. You amaze me. You're about as emotional as I am when I start thinking about what happened to me at the age of almost 6. I came down with infectious mononucleosis at the age of almost 6, and it was killing me, literally killing me. There was no stopping it. It was just a matter of time. And our doctor had come out to where we lived to be with me because I needed pain meds. I was in agony. When he got there, I just looked at him and said, I'm so tired. I'm I'm tired. I'm done, and I left. I rose up out of my body. I saw up in the top of the room. I saw everything that was going on. And then poof, I was somewhere else. Okay. Literally somewhere else. And I could see people off to my right who were waiting for me. And somebody walked up behind me and said, I need to talk to you. And he didn't turn me around, but he put his hand on my shoulder and he said, you're not going to stay here. And at that moment, I sort of got upset because this was way better than how I felt before I got there. I mean, I knew I was no more pain. I was hale, healthy. Oh, I did not want to leave because what I saw in front of me was unbelievable place I was at. And, he said, I need to talk to you for 5 minutes. You can listen to me. I'm like, okay. This was the voice of authority, okay? And he said, and when you said you have things to do and he showed you the books, I freaked out because he showed me every animal that was there. He said, these are animals and that you, in your lifetime, you will have something to do with animals. They will come to you. You will help heal them. Any animal that comes to you, you help. That's your job. You advocate for them. This is what I want you to do. And I was like, okay. And he said, you have the ability to heal. Use it. I'm like, okay. And the next thing I knew, he put both hands on both shoulders and kind of, gave me a squeeze and poof, I was slamming back into my body. Now, what killed me is my spleen ruptured. Okay. It just totally went poof. And When I came back to myself, I wasn't in the house. They had gotten me to the hospital by then. They said I coded for almost 8 straight minutes. When they went in to see what they could do, either remove my spleen. You can't really repair a spleen. It's, this is one of those things that if it fractures, it's gone. And it had already started repairing itself. When you x-ray or do an MRI, you can see the scars where the spleen had ruptured and repaired itself. And they have no explanation. That is an unbonafide miracle. They called it unprecedented. There was no reason I should be dead. Okay. This kills almost 6 years old. And I cried for years. I'm a little bit more stable, but watching you start I know that feeling. I know it. It's incredible. It's like
the literature on near-death experiences is amazing. We had a family friend who was dying of cancer. She had a near-death experience, came back, it was gone. Right. They called it the miracle of the hospital.
Right. Yeah. And it's profound. It left me understanding 2 things about life here and life as we move on, and that it is under somebody else's control besides ours. Okay, and that the mind of God is everywhere in everything. We are in God. Okay, and that how we choose to move forward. And you just made my point a minute ago, by the way. You were given a choice and you chose. It's up to us. We choose our paths. That's our autonomy. We're given that freedom to do that. And it is about selflessness. It is about helping. It is about being more than you are and stepping away from yourself and realizing this is just a temporary place for us to get that message and then move on with it, And some of us are lucky enough to have had these explosive situations in our lives where it's driven home to us, I mean, I consider it a blessing, a miracle, grace, all of that happened to me. I wouldn't trade it back in. I wouldn't do it any other way because it altered me. It altered my path of understanding. And that was a miracle to me,
There's a good lesson there. Every tragedy has its silver lining.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
Well, and talking about how to, just to let people know, if you go to the website at outofbodytravel.org, there's a link there to go to the YouTube channel, and we have some films, so we have how to have an out-of-body experience where it goes into a lot of detail. And there's the follow-up, the Tao of Mysticism, goes into getting into deeper mysticism. And then a bunch of other films too, like The Grand Phases of the Soul is really helpful as well in laying out the purification pathway, which is really helpful as well. But also, Preston, you had shown that book, Come to Wisdom's Door, which is how to have an out-of-body experience, which is a really good, helpful starter, just giving you the basics of how to get started. And for everyone, you can go to outofbodytravel.org. There's a link to our download site, which is outofbodytravel.wordpress.com, and you can download the books for free. So you can download our books. I have a whole series, I think it's 9 books or 10 now, on how to have out-of-body experiences, and they go in sequence, starting with Come to Wisdom's Door, and then it goes into out-of-body travel, out-of-body experiences, and then there's out-of-body travel and mysticism, and then we have the Hammer of Mysticism, which is an encyclopedia of out-of-body travel terms, and then goes into all the deeper mysteries of how to have out-of-body experiences. And we have films on a bunch of these books as well at the YouTube channel. And so you can check those out as well. But I'd be happy to lay out some basic ideas. A lot of what out-of-body travel starts with is the basics of what spiritual practice is, which is silence, prayer, and meditation.
Right.
And the one thing I always add to that is I always recommend 3-hour periods of meditation, because in the beginning you want to be doing this meditation period that lasts for this lengthy period, because you need to have a long enough period of time where you can enter into the vibrational state.
Right.
If you don't do it long enough, it's hard to get into the vibrational state, especially in the beginning. You know, as you start doing it more and more, it comes upon much quicker and more naturally. But in the beginning, you're needing more time. But Come to Wisdom's Door goes into all the things, the blocks and the fears that people have, the things that block them from it. One of the things about the Mysteries of the Redemption series that is helpful to people is that it kind of helps open people up to the experience and helps them to it's like an energetic thing, a frequential thing, a vibrational thing. So people will have spontaneous experiences while reading it. It just starts happening for them.
Right.
So
yes.
Yeah, reading the Mysteries of the Redemption, I hear from a lot of people where it just starts happening naturally as they read those books. And so starting with Come to Wisdom's Door and the Mysteries of the Redemption is where it often all begins, you know, for a lot of people.
If ever I start lagging them out about experiences, I'll just pick up some books and I'll read them.
Yeah.
I found you back into it. Yeah, I know. We live in a world today. It's almost like there's a huge fight between light and dark on this planet now.
Yep.
And the dark doesn't want you to be able to do any of this. It wants to stop you from it and block you off from it. And meditation, when I talk to people about meditating, you're meditating into the light. You have to be in the light when you meditate. You can't be in the dark. You have to be in the light. That's the first thing, because dark can't touch you in the light at all. And so I say, do it during the day. You know, be in a pretty bright room. Make it silent in the room. Don't let anything distract you, but stay in the light, you know, and see the light. Learn to see the light, because the light's there for you to get to it. You just have to see it or be in it. And the more you practice, the better you are at it. So if you are at night saying, I want to go for a walk out, you can in the dark, because you are light. You spread that light out. That's what meditation is for, is to teach you that process, because the period where you're in that energetic period, that's your light ascending. It's evolving out of you, and it's giving you a way to go out. And that's the door, and that you leave your body from that. And it's amazing to me.
That's true. You know, prayer is talking to God. Meditation is listening.
Right.
And, you know, receiving the answers, but meditation is also energizing, the energization process and the, you know, where the vibrations enter, you know, and so that's also important. I also wanted to acknowledge that was funny about the cats and the dogs.
Yeah, I had to put that
up. Oh my God. It's amazing, isn't it?
I am reading these comments, so the people who are posting the comments, don't think I'm ignoring you.
I know.
I'm reading them.
Everybody asks me, are there animals on the other side? And I'm like, yes, absolutely. Yes. They go with us. They're waiting, you know, they're there. It's amazing.
Yes, they are. And yeah, I've seen all my deceased pets all together on the Golden Road in the city of the New Jerusalem. And it was really cool. And, you know, I mean, even my little rodents, you know, I've had hamsters.
Yeah, they're all there. Anything you take care of. I know I've taken care of so many animals in my lifetime. Our family owned a zoo, and, you know, so I was zookeeping and stuff like that. And I've always just, heck, the animals we have in the house right now came here looking for us. You know, somebody said, show up, here we are. And so they're ours now, you know, you can't help yourself. Mm-hmm. And I know they're all there. I mean, they're all part of it. And I've got a couple of real near deaths, not completely fully, you know, but, you know, right there. And I have one animal that is with me all the time. She's never leaving me. I had a service dog, and I was poisoned when I was younger, and I got very, 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 very sick, and I had to have her. And I had her for a long time. She saved my life more than I could tell you. And she's still there, because I'll get real close, or I'll start to OB, and I'll look down, and there she is. She's right there, just wagging her tail, looking at me like, okay, we're going. You know, she was with me at the zoo. You know, she's just one of those animals. So Yeah, they're all there, and you know them, and they know you. You know.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
It's amazing to me. Okay, so here's another thing that I'm interested in that you've done. When you say that you went to other worlds and you saw the other worlds, were there other types of people on them, or was this all spiritual worlds?
Well, I mean, there's other beings from other planets.
Right.
So there's extraterrestrials in them. You know, one of the things that I thought was interesting when I went to one of the heavenly realms, one of the heavens.
Yes.
I remember being surprised when I came back that I was like, oh, there were extraterrestrials in heaven. And it was so natural. It was so natural when I was there that I didn't even notice it.
Didn't even think about it. I know. Preston asked me once, he said, I want to see an ET on the other side of gray. And I said, well, all you have to do is just look, you know. And
there's extraterrestrial. I've seen a lot of different types of extraterrestrials.
We manifest as we are, right? We're all souls.
Yes.
And,
and there's other kinds of, it's not just people, if that's what you're asking. I mean, there's all kinds of angelic beings, there's golden angels, there's all kinds of celestial hierarchies, there's lots of, if you go in the lower realms, there's all kinds of different demons and lower beings, but there's also in the higher realms, there's spiritual guides, there's spiritual teachers, there's different types of celestial beings, you know. There's different types of, there's elementals, there's tachyon beings, beings that are beyond
comprehension.
They're beyond personification, I guess you'd say. They're not, and then there's life forms that are not like us. They're beyond. I mean, I've been having some really amazing experiences that I can't even put into words. I've been, I tell my friends, I'm like, I had amazing experiences last night, but don't ask me to put them into words. I have none. I don't even know. I'm trying. I mean, I had stuff last night where I'm like, I'm still trying to figure out if there's any way to put them into words. You know,
I know. I've seen what I guess you would consider angels. I consider a little bit differently when I see them. I see them differently. I don't know. They're dimensional beings.
Well, there's both angels and dimensional beings. So there's both.
They're light beings, and they look just like angels. I mean, they look just like them. And it freaked me out the first time I saw one. I was like, "Are you real?" You know, all illusion go away, because I was OBE at the time. I was like trying to, no illusion, all illusion go away. And I sat there just very quietly, shut up, and was okay? And I was waiting for it to say something to me. And it finally said, you know, you are a beautiful, beautiful being, and I love you. And I couldn't help myself, and I said, I love you too. And I held my hand out. I wanted it to touch me, okay? And it did. It brushed my palm, and it was like, and then I find out that these beings exist dimensionally, and I've been physically to places that a lot of people don't get to go to, and I saw one in it that way, and it just, I swear to God, I think it was the same one, you know, the same being, and that can happen sometimes. I've had weird moments where I was pre-prepared to face something that I was going to go look at, and there it was, you know, and that's exactly what happened with this being. It was just there, and that blew my mind. And there are just so many things, you know. Your extensive experiences blew me out the water as I was reading through your books. I mean, you've had incredible experiences. When you were remembering your past lives and stuff like that, how does that work for you? I mean, what's your process for that?
Well, in the beginning, I would have we would go through the tunnel. It's almost like the tunnel of time, and be dropped into these bodies, and just really just experience it very physically again, you know. And you know, it's interesting because I've experienced many more lifetimes that I haven't even written about, you know. It's like, oh my gosh, you know, I might as well just write novels about these lifetimes, you know. I mean, do some mini series on these different lives, but you know, it's you drop into them, and it's like you are physically there. It's very very physical and very profoundly real, and you're walking, and a lot of times you have like an over self, like a soul self experiencing it above while you're also experiencing it below.
It's like you meld back in. You're real, yeah. My experience is almost just like that. When we have a memory, I can remember. I have an eidetic memory, so mine's pretty sharp, and I remember everything. Okay, it's so powerful, that memory, that I re-experience the sounds, the smells, the taste,
Right.
the voices of the people, the air moving, the trees, all of it. I see little things moving around in the landscapes, everything, all of it. And it's like physically actually being there, only I'm sitting here recalling it. Okay.
Right.
And it's like I'm transported back to it, and I'm reliving it in the body, in here.
Right. And what's important about those past lives is that you get taken back, and you're taken to moments in time that are going to have some kind of significance for you to remember your present.
Right.
How
did you respond?
A lot of times it's going to be a moment of death. It's going to be something that has some significance for a particular relationship in your present moment, day, or it's going to be a pattern of behavior, something to do with your life purpose. A lot of times you're going to re-experience a series of lifetimes with a particular soul. So that you start understanding the relationship that you have and what you've been doing over and over again, so you can kind of understand that. And one of the things that's really important when you start remembering past lives is to focus on those particulars. Sometimes people get caught up in erroneous details, and they don't focus on what is the essential element, really, of what is the purpose of being taken back. What do I need to know? What is it that
you ever had a real profound moment that way? I mean, like, what's the most profound moment you've ever had with that?
With past lives?
Yeah.
I had so many, but I mean, I'd have to say what's the most profound understanding of the whole is, gosh, what's the most profound? I mean, it's just like right now I'm thinking of, dying by fire in Turkey. I was being burned alive.
Been there.
It's just these random moments come to mind. And I think of like this other moment where, for some reason, right now I'm thinking of us being burned alive in a barn another time. I would think that a lot of these moments, I'll say that the thing that is the most important that has been shown to me is, don't die before you tell people you love them.
Right. Exactly.
Because all these moments are, you're dying and you don't realize you were going to die suddenly, and you haven't told people you love them.
Something undone like that. That's the most important thing. Yep.
I would say that's really, don't leave words unspoken.
Right.
Love unspoken. Don't do that. Remember, you can die when you least expect it.
Forgive everybody. Yeah. Forgiveness and love. Those are really important.
Future life?
I'm sorry, what?
Have you ever been taken to a future life?
Yes. Quite a few. Yeah. But I've been taken to future lives on different planets, definitely.
Wow. That's interesting. I have not done that yet. Or if I have, I'm not aware of it yet. I'm being prepped for something, and it's like, okay, fine. My most profound moment on this planet at this time in this life was brought to me that how we react to things is paramount. Our reactions guide us into either being negative or positive, or losing love, or going into judgment, or gaining love and going into forgiveness. And it's really important that you almost have to talk yourself through it sometimes. It's like, why am I reacting like this? I need to stop. I need to be quiet. Somebody's going to tell me something. I know it, and I just need to shut up. And it's our nature to go in an opposite direction from that. It's one of the habits of our physicality here. And it zonked me with it almost like a hammer on the head. You have to learn this. You have no choice. You will learn that in this lifetime. It's like, okay, I'm working it.
Well, along those lines too, one thing that comes to mind is, along those lines and what you were talking about earlier about different beings that you come across and extraterrestrials in the other realms.
Yeah.
Literally, I've run into a lot of different extraterrestrials in the out-of-body travel state. So like Pleiadians, Arcturians, Greys, Alpha Centaurians, many different types. The ones I call the Tibetans, who are hard to explain. But one in particular I'd like to bring up along the lines of what you're talking about is this race of aliens. And I don't even like calling them aliens because that's a bad word for them, but they're extraterrestrial. They come from, I guess I would say these are this race of beings that would be extraterrestrial to us, but they come from this world so far evolved beyond us. They come from this world that is so far evolved into love and light. And they came to me and I got to see their world, and it's so resplendent in light. I could see it from a distance.
Right.
And this being came to me, and he's just light. And he was male-ish.
He's alive, but he's non-corporeal. He's a fifth dimensional entity. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yep.
Yeah, but he came to me and he allowed me to experience, because I was not evolved enough to visit his planet in my spirit, but he allowed me to touch and blend into his essence. And by doing so, I could experience their world for just a moment, for a few moments. And so, but I touched his hands and closed my eyes, and it was like a blending of some kind. Mm-hmm. And it was for what seemed like a very long time, what seemed like maybe an hour, but it was probably a few minutes. Yeah. I was there. I was in his world. And it was so, I would say millennia beyond what we know, what our world is in evolution, in love and light.
Right.
And it was so beautiful and so wonderful and so ecstatic, and what we know as I don't know, Preston, if you've experienced the samadhi, the ecstasy in the out-of-body state. So imagine that a million times over by about 10,000.
It's billions, yeah.
Million times over by about 10,000. And imagine you live in a world that exists that way as their normal way.
Yes.
And so I was there, and I got to be there for maybe about an hour, whatever, in some kind of timeless sort of way. And then at some point I was pulled back, and I was begging him, please let me stay in your world. Please let me live in your world. And of course I couldn't go there. I'm not, I'm not qualified, and
I want to be qualified.
It was an honor to be allowed to just experience it.
When did this happen?
That would have probably been maybe 10 years ago. And it was just so wondrous. And it was a one-time thing. And it was, I've had these experiences throughout the years where I'll meet these extraterrestrials that I've never heard anyone else mention or whatever. And I don't get to see them again, like the Tibetans, this particular race. And they didn't tell me their name or whatever, but I'll never forget them.
Well, I believe you. You know why? Because I am intimately involved with the beings that you described. They are fifth dimensional non-corporeal beings.
They're
There is
not fifth dimensional. They're
no space
well
there.
beyond that. They are
No,
so
I'm not.
beyond.
Their evolutionary is different, but that's why they're able to be in the fifth dimension. It is they're non-corporeal. They are billions of years in advance of us, and I fly with him. I fly with tall gray ETs. I'm an experiencer, and one of the beings that indwells the craft that they built in the fifth dimension, that I have absolute knowledge of and understanding and know how to fly it. I go in with him. We meld together just exactly like you, because all of their technology is pure light, all of it.
Right.
And I work with
But
them.
he's not a gray.
No, they're not grays. He
Right.
is a non-corporeal fifth dimensional being.
Right.
He is so knowledgeable, it is unbelievable. He can do anything at
Right.
any time. And his world is as you describe, literally as you describe. I can't even live there. I can't go there. They've brought me through once. It was a quick jump through and then out, and it made me ill to be there for too long. I mean, got ill, physically ill. It affected me like that. But they exist, and you're describing them perfectly. That's how they communicate. They become one with you. They're one together, all of them. They are in communication in ways you can't even imagine. And they create the craft that throughout the universe, God's creation, that they travel to this world from other worlds, and they come and visit us. And they are in that craft. They indwell it. They build them there. It's all light technology, and they're alive. I don't know how to explain that. The craft are actually alive, that they indwell like we would indwell our body. They indwell that craft. And it's amazing. It's really amazing. You're the first person ever in my life to describe this being, ever. Really good detail. I mean, you're shocking me, okay? Because that's amazing. Preston knows very, very well who this person is. I call him Talata. I can't pronounce his proper name. No, they nicknamed him Talata. And he is, I've known him my entire life. And he comes and he goes. And that's one of the things that I was going to do in this lifetime, to bring a message forth to everybody, and they are very spiritual. They know that God is God. They call God the All Mind, because he's all creation. He's everything, he ellipses all of it. We're in him actually. And they're that evolved. And that's amazing. Did he come and get you, or did you just run into him OBE?
He came and got me.
Okay. Sounds like
cool. Well, we got a bunch of questions in chat, and we've only got like 15-20 minutes left, so I'm hoping we can get through some of these. And I'm going to start with this first one from Bim Jim. It says, can you do telepathy? What % of humans can do telepathy?
Well, I don't consider myself someone who does a lot of telepathy, and we can hand that one to Dolly probably.
Oh, the percentage, everybody has the ability to do telepathy, even you. You're born with the innate ability. You have the hardware in your head to do it. But we're living on a planet where everybody's messing everything up and causing hate and fear. And, it's hard for you to develop the abilities. People have also been put down for it. You've been made to feel bad, wrong, and, shunned away from it. The percentage of people right now doing telepathy on this planet is probably close to 20%, 25, somewhere between those two numbers, which is small. And
I think a lot of people have experienced it at some point in their life.
Everybody experiences telepathy all the time. It's just not, the volume's not up on it.
It's a natural human ability.
Yeah, right.
All right, well, here's another question. This one's specifically for you, Marilynn. We always encourage questions from the chat. And this is
so this is an interesting question, because I get this a lot. And
read it out so people can hear it, though. So the question, because some people don't get the visual, so I'm just going.
We have Roku people; they can't see us; they only hear us on the radio.
So I'm going to read the question just so other people know. The question is, did you experience the silver cord that OBE experiencers describe?
So I get that question a lot, and the interesting thing is that I've never experienced the silver cord. Yeah.
Because I never did either. And then finally I lost my mind. I'm like, I need to see it. And I did twice, but it took great effort. And I wondered about that. A lot of people don't.
Yeah.
I was reading this in the book. Some do, some don't.
Yeah. Mhm.
I didn't even, honest to goodness, I didn't even know anybody could see it until Preston said that he went looking for it and he found it. Because no, I don't.
Yeah,
So
I've
you've
never
seen it?
it.
I wonder why that is.
I don't think we need to. We just know,
Yeah.
you know.
All right.
Yeah.
I guess it's just an energetic thing. All right. Well, let's move to the next. Well, I'm not sure if this is a question or so much a statement. I've started to accidentally have OBEs before, and I get too startled to continue and just slam right back into my super hot body.
Well, maybe yours is super hot, and that's the problem. No, I was going to say, this is real common, and people get startled. And part of the process of the discipline is that you work on tempering the startled response and the excited response that people have, and the fear response. All these things actually cause you to slam right back in.
Yep.
And so there is a process of where you actually discipline yourself to deal with that startled response. And Come to Wisdom's Door can help you with that, starting on that process of disciplining your startled response. That's totally normal. Happens to everybody.
Yeah.
Part of the beginning process is everybody has to work through that and start tempering it.
Yeah, for most people I've talked to, it was fear. They're like, it's so scary. I'm like, no, it's not that scary once you get doing it. But I would get so excited.
Yeah.
Just relax.
Like you can't imagine riding on two wheels, and then when you finally get up on it and you're moving, it's like, wow,
Yeah, and then sometimes too, like I would see one of my deceased friends and I'd be like, oh my God, you're here. And you get the super excited. Like you're talking.
Have you ever had a shared out-of-body experience where you do it with another person? Because Dolly and I were able to do that.
I have done it with some people here and there. Yeah. You can do
shared. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Have you ever been able to have someone alive see you as an apparition? Robert Monroe did that. And I've never been able to do it. I go in front of people and I'm a ghost. They cannot see me. The only one who ever did was Dolly.
Oh, well, in terms of as an apparition, that's a good question. But I've literally received hundreds of emails from people who have seen me in out-of-body experiences where I'm teaching them.
Cool.
And so people see me all the time, I guess.
That's cool. Yeah.
All right. Well, here's another question, which is we've already kind of talked about. Can you do healing when you go out of body? I've been taken to heal people, which is kind of astonishing to me because I don't think of myself as a healer. But they're like,
and I have been too. It's not like something I do a lot of, but I have done that. And then I've seen, there are a lot of angels that do healing and stuff like that. And you'll see that there's a lot of that in these experiences. There's a lot of that. And there's a lot of spiritual teachers and spiritual guardians who come in and do healing on you. And it's not just healing, it's also vibrational raisings and things that are to help you in your spiritual progress.
Yeah, just going out of body is very healing.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
The astral energies.
You feel better when you come back. Yeah, absolutely.
That's absolutely true. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Which makes me want to bring up something because there's a guy who wrote about his out-of-body experiences. YRAM is the author. It's a pseudonym. But he talked about coming back and being able to levitate. And that happened to Robert Monroe twice. He fell down the stairs and floated down. And I've sometimes felt like there's times, I should have tried because I was walking on air. I wrote a book on levitation. I know you had an experience with that. And I wondered if you...
Yeah, I want to know.
I did have one, and it was years ago. And I had this experience where it was during the rites of passage, initiations, and the mysteries. I was taken to this underwater temple, and then I literally levitated all around the upstairs of my home.
Yeah.
But it was a one-time thing, you know, so
Wow.
it
How old were
was
you?
very exciting that one time.
How old were you?
I must have been about 27 or 28 at the time.
Okay.
I'm
So
58 now, so it's a long time ago. Yeah.
The older I get, the less I'm able to pull it off now, you know.
Okay.
It's telekinetic, and
Mhm.
every now and then I'll wake up and I'm a little bit above the bed, but I slam right back down when I realize I'm doing it. And it's like, you know, and I don't know why I can't just go up anymore. And I don't know. I haven't figured that out yet. Oh.
All right, well, here's another question from Maggie Smith. And she's asking, can you give us an idea of the difference between realm and dimension?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question, Maggie. You know, so like dimensions, you have, like, let's say, let me give you a general idea. So, third and fourth dimension are the border worlds. This is the mortal realms. So, what this means, third and fourth dimension is where you have the battles between good and evil. Fifth dimensions and above are the realms of light. The first and second dimensions are the realms of darkness and
Right.
evil. So the third and fourth dimension are these two dimensions. The fifth dimension is a dimension. There are a million different realms within the third and fourth dimension.
Yep.
There's a million different realms in the fifth dimension and above. There's a million different realms in the first and second dimension. And so realms can consist of an infinite number. Dimensions can be more of a bigger sphere of existence.
Right.
Hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's been my experience because I've been to like different realms and I've traveled to the edge of it. I'm like, wow, it's not like a world here. It's different. It's hard to.
Yeah, and what you're doing is all these realms are different vibrational levels within these spheres and within these dimensions. You know, there are all these different levels between, you know, so like let's say you're in the third and fourth dimension, you got these realms that are different levels of vibration.
I think Jesus said, there are many houses and I go to make houses for everybody. And I swear to you, I think that's what that is. It's every one of those realms is a house. He described it as a house. And it's almost like bubble memory in a computer. It's encapsulated, it's there, and you can travel back and forth from them easily, but it's an actual place you can go to. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, it's funny. People always say, why don't you explore the earth and here? I'm like, well, no, the fun is on the higher realms. You'll learn that as soon as you go. It's like, you know, I'm not really that interested in Earth's exploring that. You can go there physically, but
yeah, the higher spheres are the really interesting places to be.
One more question. I have a question. The Crystal River. Oh, I want you to hear you describe that. The Crystal River. I'm serious.
Oh, yeah, the Crystal River was the Golden River in the Crystal River the forest, which is this was the forest, and the trees were made of crystals, and everything was crystal river flowing. Yes. Yeah, the river was golden. It was golden. The trees had these rose quartz leaves. The trees, they were made of all sorts of, amethysts, and, so it was just this beautiful crystal forest.
Smell them. Yes.
Yes. They're beautiful.
I've been there. I've seen it. Actually seen it. And
Always
I've never been back. And my one deal is when I leave here, I am going straight there. I'm going to sit down and have a root beer float and think about it. That's what I plan to do. That's my plan. Preston knows this. I've told him a million times. Come with me. I want to go there. It blew my mind when I saw it. I absolutely blew my mind. There's just so many things on the other side of everything that you're brought to them. Sometimes you're brought to learn something. You go different places for different reasons, and that's the one that had me profoundly stupefied.
So beautiful. There's just no words for a lot of stuff.
Yes, right.
Yeah, there really aren't, and there really aren't.
All right. Well, here's another question, which I find interesting because I've been to some of these lower realms and been attacked by negative entities. And usually I just run back to my body. But last time I held my ground and I put the light out. And boy, they turned into, oh, they were mad. They were so mad. I'm like, okay, I'm leaving. I'm just getting them angry. So
Yeah.
Allison is asking, can it be dangerous to go to the lower realms to help?
Yes, it can. And, this is why it's so important that you only go there if you are called to, because if you're called to, you'll be trained to do it. And even then, you go through a lot of different processes in order to do it. Like if you're going into a hell realm, you may actually go through exorcisms on your way back out, because you have to. There's certain realms you go into that you can't come out without undergoing exorcisms because they're so contaminated. And so, and there are places where you're going to go into major spiritual warfare and you're going to undergo spiritual attack. And, when it says in the Bible, there's a war between principalities and powers, they're not saying that it's, it's not a symbolic war. It's a real war, which means that you can lose and that, you can get some damage can be done. And so you shouldn't take these things lightly, and you should only go when called. And that means you go because you're trained. And then you still go with extreme caution and with extreme with a somber spirit and a humble spirit, knowing that this isn't child's play. And, it's still, things can go wrong, And,
well, I think we have time for one more question. Then I want to give you some time to talk a little bit about where people can find you, although the links are in the description.
Awesome. Thank you.
But here is, oh no, I just lost it. Oh well.
Okay.
It was, can some people not learn how to go out of body?
Well, there are some people who probably shouldn't, and that would be people who have, like for instance, people who have had to undergo exorcism, and people who have had problems with demonic problems, who've had attachment to dark things in the past. There are people who shouldn't do that. There are people who can't learn or may not have the experience, and it's okay. There are some people who it may not come naturally to them, and it's okay if it doesn't, because remember, the purpose of the experience is the purification journey of the soul. And you can learn this purification journey of the soul through mystical theology texts and other means. We have all kinds of means that you can explore on the website. We have courses of study and all sorts of things you can explore. The out-of-body travel is a tool. It's not the truth itself. The tool does lead to the truth, but there are other ways that lead to the truth. So if for some reason you're a person where it doesn't happen for you, don't think that doesn't mean that you cannot reach that truth in your lifetime. It just means that there's another way for you. There are other tools.
Right.
So remember, out-of-body travel itself isn't the truth. It's a tool, and so there will be another way for you, and you'll find that the purification path, and I would recommend that Grand Phases of the Soul film is a really good journey. And, even just, reading the Mysteries of the Redemption and learning about that journey is really helpful, that purification journey, because that's the path that we're all here. If we're incarnate here, we're here because of the purification journey of the soul. I talk a lot about, in all of my work, about the ancient sacred texts and the writings that were left behind by the great prophets, saints, mystics, and sages of all world religions from around the world, and how those were the last words they left behind before they achieved the final liberation, and that those are the great secrets that we're all here to find. Those are there for us
Right.
to find our way.
Absolutely.
Very cool.
Know
Yeah.
all that is knowable and then proceed. Yep.
Mhm.
All right. So we still have 3 good minutes before we have to say goodbye to everyone tonight. So is there any last messages you want to give, and how can
Definitely
people
find the website. Go to the website, outofbodytravel.org, also outofbodytravel.wordpress.com. And definitely you can always email me at Marilynn Hughes at outofbodytravel.com. And
Well, yeah, look at all these books, guys. I mean, this is amazing. Check it out.
Yeah.
I can't tell you, Marilyn, how much your books have helped me and brought me just joy and knowledge, which is the only thing we can take with us. I mean, money you can't take with you. It's just love and truth.
Only love. That's it. Your experiences, you wear them, you employ them, your experiences for the good of all, and you take that with you. Love goes with you freely, you know?
I really appreciate you saying that. It means a lot to me, Preston. Thank you.
Hey, thank
Yeah.
you. I mean, I really can't thank you enough, because you have been a great resource for me, and I'm sure lots of other people. So it's been a true honor to have you on the show. I just can't thank you enough. I know the chat loved you, all the people here listening tonight. So
Yep.
I was so excited when you said, yes, I'll come on the show. I'm like, yay, Dolly, guess who's
Yeah, he was
It's been great fun. It's been nice talking to both of you. It's been great.
Yes, and I'm so grateful to have met you, and I'm
You as well.
really important to me after reading through your books, like Preston gave me the chance to do before I got to meet you. Thank you so very much.
Well,
We'd
thank
love
you.
for you to come back again. This isn't over, okay?
Oh,
There-
yeah.
All right, absolutely. All
We've
right,
just
well,
started.
this is the Light Gate, everybody. We love you. Have a wonderful week, just do good, love. We came to you live from New Orleans at the United Public Radio Network at 107.7 FM and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3. And all I can say is love. Bye.
Hi, Marilyn.